Hello, scholars. This is Keith Allen, and I want to give you some quick ideas about how you can use the literary concept of symbolism to analyze your short stories, poems, or plays. We can start our discussion again with Disney, which makes great and frequent use of symbolism to enrich and to extend the meanings of its movies. Of course, if you want to make a movie about a king, then what better symbol than a lion? This one is rather easy, and even a child can see that lions are the kings of the beast. They understand intuitively what your textbook calls conventional symbols, those symbols that are widely recognized by a society or culture. Of course, the problem with symbols is that they can have multiple meanings. Literary symbols can have meanings beyond the conventional, so that in a movie such as The Lion King, a lion can be noble and courageous, but it can also be conniving and cunning. These multiple meanings often confuse students who want to know what the true meaning or the one meaning is. Novice readers can also be confused by seeing meanings that are not there, just as some on the internet have seen different images in The Lion King. One of the first lessons to learn about symbols is that while symbols can mean many things, they cannot mean anything. The image you see in a symbol must fit into the story and illuminate that story, not your own fantasies. I, for instance, do not see how the image of a bikini-clad behind helps me understand the story of the Lion King any better. Therefore, I don't think it's a real symbol that works in the movie. That someone actually saw this image in the movie says more about them than it does about the movie itself. If you can't support a symbol with the story itself, then you are likely on the wrong path. Of course, the symbols at work in our stories are not always so obvious as a Lion King, but just as in that movie, the symbols we're going to come across help extend and enrich the meaning of the story. And you can explore a story through a careful analysis of its symbolism. Consider again William Faulkner's short story A Rose for Emily. And let's start with the rose, which is mentioned only in the title. The rest of the story makes no use of a rose. This should make you wonder if the rose has some larger meaning for the story as a whole. In other words, does the rose symbolize something beyond itself, a particular kind of flower? I'll bet it does. What then does it symbolize? Well, we can start with romance. We give roses to those we desire romantically. The ancient Greeks identified roses with Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Does romance have anything to do with this story? Sure it does. Think about Homer Barron. Roses have also symbolized purity, especially since the Middle Ages when Christians associated roses with the Virgin Mary. Does purity have anything to do with our story? Oddly enough, it does. It's possible that Miss Emily, for instance, remains a virgin, at least in the sexual sense, as she kills her only would-be lover and cuddles with his corpse. Technically, she's still a virgin. How strange is that? Well, what does it mean for our story? I'll bet it means something. Roses have also symbolized royalty, as in England's House of Tudor. Does aristocracy have anything to do with our story? You bet. Miss Emily is the last of the antebellum aristocracy that ruled Jefferson, Mississippi. She's the fallen monument to that aristocracy. Is the rose a symbol of Miss Emily's funeral? It certainly could be. We often use flowers, including roses, at funerals as a tribute to the departed. Does the story use other symbols? For instance, is Homer Barron a symbol? Of what? Well, as a Yankee, does he symbolize Northern commercial interest in reconstructing the South after its defeat in the Civil War? Seems likely. Well, what do you make of that? Is Miss Emily's house a symbol? Again, of what? Perhaps it is a symbol of Miss Emily herself. It certainly shares some of the same attributes with her in its, quote, stubborn and coquettish decay. Clearly, then, you can reread the story with symbolism in mind, and you will find many symbols at work. Following any one or several of the symbols can help you expand your understanding of the story and what it means. Be sure to make notes. The sample student essay in your textbook's chapter on symbolism shows how one student explored the ways that author Ralph Ellison uses symbolism in his story, Battle Royal, to express the changes that a young, gifted black student experiences in his confrontation with the callous white leaders of his hometown. It would be easy for you to model this essay by exploring how Faulkner uses symbolism in A Rose for Emily to express the tensions between a town trying to move on from a disastrous defeat and the last remaining symbol of that defeat, who refuses to move on with them. As you can see then, if you reread the story carefully through the lens of symbolism, looking for ways that various symbols interplay with the characters, the plot, the setting, or the theme, then you can easily find an angle for a fine essay that will bring real insight and value to your colleagues. And remember, that's the point of your essay anyway. Well, thanks for listening all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the net. If you have any questions, be sure to ask.